Today we have got a special meeting lined up for you all. There will be a keynote special session from a very special speaker on an interesting topic. Apart from that, we would be having a prepared speech and, of course, our favorite table topics, followed by a session of general evaluation. So I hope all of you are looking forward to 1.5 to 2 hours of fun and learning, and some housekeeping rules that we need to be aware of. Do keep your videos on. I can see many people who have their videos on right now. It's wonderful to see you all, so please keep your videos on for the duration of the meeting. Although be on mute and unmute yourself only when it's your turn to speak. Of course, feel free to chit chat among yourself using the chat function of Zoom, and treat subjects like gender, politics, religion, etc. with sensitivity. With that, I would like to again welcome you all to the joint meeting of Leaders Connect Toastmasters Club and Toastmasters Club of Storytellers. And I would like to hand the virtual stage over to the moderator for today's meeting, Toastmaster Saurabh.
Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And we are yet again present today to have this wonderful meeting of Toastmasters. As Toastmasters, it's my responsibility to introduce today's speakers. And after the speeches have concluded, I will ask for the grammarian report, which includes the timers report, and post that request ballots to be passed to the voter counter, introduce the journal evaluator, and thereby conclude for the results. I will then return the control of the meeting to the president so before we conclude for the day. So once again, welcome for the day, and we can proceed further. I'll now introduce the journal evaluator of the day, who is none other than Lavisha. Lavisha has been with Toastmasters from September 2022 and is an active member of the group. She works with RBS, is a full-time mom of two in Gurugram, and her leadership skills speaks for the immense talent that she holds. Please welcome Lavisha.
Hi, thank you. And just a moment. So, my name is Lavina, Toastmaster Lavina, and
Sorry, Lavina. Yeah.
No issue. And I would be playing the role of a virtual evaluator today. So that means I would be closely monitoring the whole meeting and would be able to provide the feedback for the entire meeting for each and every section at the end of the meeting towards the final evaluation section. I have a few people to help me out with the same, and for the same, I would be needing the help of my tag team. And for my tag team, I have Toastmaster Sagar today playing the role of the sorry, timer today. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Toastmaster Sagar, could you please come onto the virtual stage and introduce your role?
Hi, good morning, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Sagar, and today I'll be playing the role of a timer. And as a timer, I'll be helping the speakers express themselves within a specific time range. And my duty is to time the prepared speeches, table topics, and the speech evaluations. And I'll alert the speakers of their time while they're on the stage. And using the colored flashcards. So there will be three flashcards. The green card will indicate the qualifying time. The yellow card will indicate the target time, and the red card will indicate the maximum time. And there will be a grace period of 30 seconds after the red card is flashed for the speaker to wrap up their speeches. For the prepared speech section, the time allotted is 5 to 7 minutes. The green card is shown at 5 minutes, the yellow card is shown at 6 minutes, and the red card is shown at 7 minutes. For the table topic session, the maximum time allotted is 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll show green card at 1 minute, yellow card at 1 minute 30 seconds, and the red card at 2 minutes. For the speech evaluations, the maximum time allotted is 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll show green card at 2 minutes, yellow card at 2 minute 30 seconds, and the red card at 3 minutes. And as mentioned again, there will be 30 seconds grace period after the red card is shown to wrap up the speeches. Well, that's all about the role of a timer, and I wish all the best to all the speakers today. And I'll come back with my report in the second half once called upon by the general audience. Back to you, Toastmaster Lavin.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sagar. And now moving on, I have Toastmaster Mohit today playing the role of the half counter. Toastmaster Mohit, could you please come onto the virtual stage and explain your role?
Thank you, Toastmaster Lavina. Hi, everyone. Good morning to you all. I am Mohit Sahni, and I'll be playing the role of the R counter today. As the R counter, my role is to listen to what is being said by all the speakers during the entire meeting and making a note of the space fillers or inappropriate words. Space fillers can be words such as and, well, but, so, and you know. Inappropriate sounds may be as, I'll also make a note of the repetition of words such as I, or this means, this means. I'll be creating a chart based on the data that I collate from all of these inappropriate words or sounds, and I'll be presenting my report at the end of the meeting when called upon by the general evaluator. Wish you all good luck, and I'll hand it over back to Toastmaster Lavina.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mohit, for explaining your role. Moving on, we have Toastmaster Dipendu, who would be playing the role of a champion today. So I request him to kindly come onto the virtual stage and explain his role.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Today I would be playing the role of grammarian. As grammarian, I would be observing all the speakers who take the virtual stage today and try to observe good usage of grammar and areas which can be improved. One common concept of grammar which I recommend all of you look up on Google is subject-verb agreement, because more often than not, seemingly poor grammar is nothing but incorrect subject verb agreement. So probably this is one aspect or one topic of grammar which we can study on Google or through many other resources and become better speakers. So I would be observing you all. Try to put your best foot forward when it comes to sentence construction and language. That's one. Second, I would like to introduce the word of the day. The word of the day today is esoteric. You can see the word of the day on the chat along with its meaning. Esoteric means very unusual and understood or liked only by a small number of people, especially those with special knowledge. I would like to give you a couple of usages of the word esoteric. First, let us use the word esoteric in terms of a skill. So the sentence is: the skill of public speaking is considered esoteric by many, and that is why people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on public speaking coaches attempting to become better speakers, not realizing that this seemingly esoteric skill has been practiced by each and every human being since childhood. So here I have attempted to use the word of the day esoteric in terms of a skill. But of course, you can use the word esoteric for a human being as well. For example, Sanjay, the CEO of an IT company, had an esoteric demeanor, but few understood that he was always driven by the same feelings of love and anger as all other human beings. So you can use the word esoteric for a skill, for a human being, even for a place. For example, the offbeat places or the offbeat hill stations of Uttarakhand may seem esoteric to many, but they are nothing but villages which have been untouched by human commercial activities. So try to use the word of the day esoteric in as many ways as possible and enjoy learning with Toastmasters. With this, I hand it back to Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dipendu, and a wonderful explanation and quite good tips for the entire members to follow for the grammarian role. Thank you. And now I think that's about my team. And towards the evaluation section, I would come back with my report, and with the help of my team, would share the same to the entire. Thank you, and over to you, Toastmaster. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lavina. And now we'll proceed further. The keynote speaker for the day is none other than Deepti Ma'am. She is a technical writer by choice and a Toastmaster by chance. Mom to young kids, she looks forward to being on a journey of self-discovery and self-change through Toastmasters. One and let's welcome her to the stage.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, for that warm introduction. And every time I hear that introduction, I'm reminded of the reason why I joined Toastmasters in the first place. So thank you. Let me quickly check if I have co-host rights, because I want to share a presentation. Toastmaster Mohit, can you give me co-host rights, please? All right, I have them now. Thank you. Okay, and here I go with my presentation. I hope it's visible. A thumbs up would be great. All right, thank you, Diptendu. Right, everybody, let's dive straight in. Timer, please note, I request a green indication at 10 minutes, yellow at 15, and red at 20, just so that we remain within the time limit. All right, so data storytelling. Well, it's a new area for me also to delve in, but I'm excited to share what I have learned so far. I'm just a beginner, and that is what I'm going to share with all of you. Let's begin so that we can someday master the art of data storytelling. I cannot begin without sharing the references. So my references for this slide deck and for the session that I'm conducted are attributed to two books. One is Storytelling with Data by Cole Prem, and the other book is The Power with Data Storytelling, or Power of Data Storytelling by Sejal Vora. And of course, I've had good rounds of review with my fellow Toastmasters. All right, let's start. Now, let's start with something which is familiar to us. So out of data and storytelling, which component do you think is familiar with us? Anybody?
Storytelling.
That's right.
Storytelling.
Thank
Storytelling,
you.
obviously.
Absolutely right. So storytelling is a familiar area. And if we know what is storytelling, let's see what are the main components of storytelling which will help us throughout the session. Every story has a plot. Agree? Yes. Every story has a twist. Agree? And every story has an ending. Agree. But let me take an example so that you're able to relate with it. Do you remember this story? Anybody? Unmute.
I remember.
Thirsty Crow.
Absolutely, Thirsty Crow. So what was the plot? A crow, a vessel with water, right? That was the plot. What was the twist? Twist was the crow throwing stones or pebbles into the pot. And what was the ending? The water level rised up, the thirsty crow quenched his thirst. So every story definitely has a plot, a twist, and an ending. Then that makes us wonder, what are the components of a data story? Let's see. In a data story, plots are what speak about the data. Twists are what develops interest through visualization. An ending is what narrates the main message. Hold on to that thought. Keep wearing your thinking hats. I'll explain each of these three areas, right? So the components are data, visualization or visualize, and the narrative. Let's start with the first component. All right, okay. So to bring focus to the presentation today, okay, it is the three components which, when get together, makes data storytelling possible. So it is data, visualization, and supporting narration, which combined together makes data storytelling. Why do I say so? Request the host to please mute until I ask for audience participation. Thank you. So when data and visualization meet, okay, there happens enlightenment. Let's go back to the crow story quickly. There was the picture, there was the crow, right? And when I say things like, oh, the crow was very parched, he had traveled from a faraway land, don't you start picturing the crow? I'm creating a visualization. That is when enlightenment happens to you, that probably the crow wants to drink the water, right? So I'm deriving insights, I'm giving you enlightenment. When I'm helping you visualize and I add narration to it, what are you doing? You're imagining. So your brains are at work. I have already brought in engagement, right? However, if it was only data and a simple plain narration, I would have given an explanation, right? But if I put all of them together, I bring in data storytelling. And when data storytelling happens, when all these three components combine together, that influences change. What do you think was the change that happened in the story when somebody narrated the thirsty story to you? Can you think of the change that happened in your mind? Or what message did you derive out of that story? The thirsty crow story. Yes, Shweta.
So, through the Thirsty Crow story, there is always a way out. If there is a problem existing in front of you and you want to do or reach to some point, for
Yes.
example, for the crow, it was to quench his thirst. So he found a way out. Okay, how should I make the level of water up? So
Right.
he put the stones and he put the level of water up. So there's always a way out for any problem that is in.
Absolutely, absolutely, Shweta. So the change that you and I get influenced with is the fact that persistence and determination can help solve a problem, right? And that is exactly what we are going to learn today through this workshop or through this session for data storytelling. Let's learn how to influence change. Let us come to the first component, data. See, data has always existed, right? Even from times immemorial, right? But in today's age, the digital age, there is so much data around that at times it becomes impossible for humans like you and me to just go through that data, leave alone deriving insights or visualizing it, isn't it? Right? And this data is said to be the new gold. Why do you think so? Why do you think there's a comparison between data and gold?
It helps in decision making. It helps in strategizing. It helps in
It
target
helps in,
segmentation in
yes,
all
it
ways.
absolutely, it helps in changing gears. It helps in influencing decisions, right? And if you look at it, the statement is very apt. Just like gold, you cannot use data in its raw form, isn't it? Just like gold, you have to first collect it, refine it, prune it, design it, right? So what do you do to data? You collect it through surveys, through backend systems. Okay, you refine it through your tools like those Tableau and business intelligence tools, or scripts or languages like Python, right? You refine it, you derive insights out of it. Okay, how do you derive insights? When you analyze it. So to gold, you design it, data you analyze, right? So indeed, data is the new gold. In fact, if you come to think of it, without data, you're a person with just an opinion. I was speaking with Mohit earlier today, and we were talking about the room. So Mohit gave a beautiful example. He said the walls of a room are blue currently. Let's paint one pink. Okay, because I want to paint it. Well, there are other people in the house, right? Painting the wall pink is just an opinion. Let's support it with data. Do the majority of people in the house want to paint it pink? Right? That is where the logical way of arriving at a decision is. Right. So now that we have data, okay, and we have great amounts of data. In fact, that's where the concept of big data comes in as well. Right? We want to visualize the data. We want to see how we can interpret that data. Okay. But the first step of visualizing data is in knowing who are you collecting or visualizing the data for, right? In fact, it's this intersection which will be narrowed down once you arrive at who are you visualizing the data for. What do I mean when I say I'm visualizing the data for? Yes, Amit.
Visualizing data, like it first you think within yourself where you want to reach, like in the thirsty crow story, the crow want to drink water, so it's just like your action will depend where you want to reach.
Correct.
That you have to
That is
visualize.
absolutely, that is what you have to visualize at the end. That is our end goal. So my question is, who are you visualizing it for? You're visualizing it
Audience.
for, absolutely, you're visualizing it for an audience. So the first step is to know who your audience is, right? Who's the primary group in the audience, or is it an individual? What does your audience want to know? Because the data is there in numerous quantity, right? What is your audience priorities? Okay, what do they want to know? What are the preferences of men and women in clothing? Or do they want to know what is the best season for shopping? Okay, what is at stake for your audience? Okay, so if they, as in, what benefit will they derive if they do what you want them to do? Or what is the risk that they'll hold if they don't do what you want to do? So that is what visualizing is for, right? Let's take an example. This is a scenario. Imagine you're a fourth standard science teacher. You just completed a pilot science workshop. You brought out a survey at for the children at the start and at the end. Okay. And just to understand how the perceptions have changed. Okay. Now, what you have done is you visualized the data that you collected using a graph. Let's see what kind of visualization did you do. I'll give you 8 seconds of attention span to raise your hand and let me know what can you interpret out of these graphs. Your time starts now. Unmute and speak. Yes, Shweta.
So before, when the students were not knowing so much about the science, though I can't see clearly, but I think it is the bored or interested, excited. That is what I can see. So then the graph was more towards, like this blue thing, like more less towards the excited part. But when the data was, as you said, tuned, refined, and was given by the teacher in a very nice manner and explained that what science can do in your life, what you can do with the knowledge of science, then the excited part becomes very large as compared.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. But I'm sure you took more than 8 seconds. What if we change the graph a bit? What do you think? Will this graph give a better picture? A thumbs up will do. You don't have to rove your eyes from left to right to interpret what is it that is happening, right? So why was this graph changed? Because they wanted to influence the audience, the decision makers. The decision makers were the budget committee who were funding the science program. So now they clearly see that the interest levels have doubled up, or the excitement levels have doubled up. That's why the audience is important. Let's learn some of these techniques, all right? And here I want all of you to unmute. Please unmute so that you can answer. You see a series of numbers on the screen. I'll count 3. And I want you, okay, let me count 5. I want you to count the number of 3s that appear on this picture. Unmute and say the moment you count. 1,
5.
5.
5.
4.
5.
Absolutely. Pat yourself on the back. But tell me, if I made a little bit of change, will you be able to count faster?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? Why do you think? Because I have elevated the color of some numbers, or the numbers that I wanted to project, and dimmed the other. So what you want to highlight, bring it out in a different color, right? That's the message. So technique 1, example on a graph. This is a sales target. I wanted to draw your attention to quarter 2, 2024 results, the current quarter. I changed the color. Otherwise, it was all the same, right? While we use color, we need to be mindful. Too much color is distracting. What about this versus this? Let's take an example. This is a graph where there's too much color. Every city or state has a different color. Will this be better? Or something like this? More readable, isn't it? So that's the second technique. Don't overuse color. There are 6 bars here. Which one do you think draws attention?
D.
D.
Absolutely. Because this is the way human mind works. You catch what is distracting, right? So you change the shape of wherever you want the attention to focus to. Let's see how we've done it here. Without the numbers here, the numbers are hidden under the yellow bar. You already know that quarter 2, 2023 has the highest sales, right? Because your mind is differentiating. I'll show you the numbers now. So that is how it works. Let's see another technique. This is a website page. Close your eyes for a second, look away, and then look back. What catches your attention the first? Quickly.
The man with the laptop.
Picture. Yeah.
Okay.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, same here.
LinkedIn. Well, actually, the human eye catches attention from the top left. That is where the story begins. It is always top left. Probably the size of the image is what caught your attention, right? But it is, you start with the top left, then you typically look towards the left, the right side. That is where you place the next important item. You then move towards the bottom left, and then finally towards your picture. That is how the research shows that human mind works. When you look at this graph, right, what do you see first? Ticket volume over time, because it's top left. The most important message comes here. Then you read the story, because this is overwhelming. And then you look at this graph, right? So this is how you use the roving Z pattern when you're presenting your data. By the way, all these are called pre-attentive techniques. Search for it, Google it, and you'll find some more. Let's move on. We have data. We've learned some techniques to visualize it. What if we add a supportive narrative to it? When you talk about a narrative, you're talking about the big idea. What's the big idea? The end message that we were talking about a couple of moments ago, right? In the thirsty story, what is the big idea? Determination and patience. But when you share the big idea, you must know how to articulate your unique point. There's mammoth data. You visualized a section of it. But even in that section, what is it that you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on what is the best shopping season for a clothing brand? Or do you want to focus on what colors do men prefer versus what colors do women prefer in a clothing brand? Okay. It must convey what's at stake. What are the benefits if the influencers or if the decision makers do or follow your big idea? What are the risks if they don't? And then at the end of it, your big idea should not be in pages that you keep turning. It has to be in one complete sentence. That's it. Remember the science program? We talked about data through a graph. Let's add some story to it. Now you as a science teacher believe that a data shows great success story and you want to continue it, right? You want people to fund it. Then how do you change that graph? From graph on the top left to the bottom right, I change it like this, right? So my blue reads here, what happens after, right? How do you feel about the science program? Okay, this is talking about the influence before, and I call out what the key message is. The majority of children felt it was just okay before the program. But after the program, the children are excited and interested. So I've put it out on the front, on the graph itself, so that it is easier for my audience to see the data. And then let's just leave the decision making to them. Let's take an example, another example. You look at this example, you try and read it. Do you think if you were the decision maker, would you know what needs to be decided? Diptendu?
It would be difficult. I'm seeing a lot of blocks of colors here.
Absolutely. But what if I change the narrative to something like this? The
Slightly
title
easier.
bar, yes, it will be a lot easier because the title bar tells you what you have currently done. And then when you highlight, okay, the bars that you want to bring focus to, you're actually helping them make a decision. And what your narrative here is supporting the decision makers. You want to reduce non-initiative spending and focus it on advancing higher education. So you make it easier for the decision makers. You make it easy for them to be influenced. Let's see another one, which is what most IT people will be familiar with. This is a ticket trend. Tickets are your service help desk tickets, okay? Over a time period of January to December, you see lots of reds and blue. You look at red, you look at blue, you move on, right? But you don't make any decision. Whereas the backstory is that this data was shown so that the gap between the number of tickets received and processed decreases. Let's see, with a little change in narrative, Now, the decision makers will be influenced to have the decision that is required approved because they can already see the gap here. So basically, when we combine data and visualization and support it with a narration, we bring about a lot of change. All right. And this is the area of change. Once we start focusing our energies on the area, on the purple box of change, we begin to master data storytelling. And that is what I want to bring your attention to through the session today. With that, we open the floor for question answers, and I'll stop the sharing my screen.
So, okay. So certainly, I want to commend the quality of this presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment, every minute of what you presented, Deepti. And my takeaway is we talked about data in general, and a lot of focus was on data visualization aspect, so that we could easily see and visualize data and probably draw our own insights from the mathematical work, the graphs, and all that have been created. So I think I really enjoyed, and of course, with the Thirsty Crow story, that story is also open to so many interpretations. So interpretations in itself means yes that we can craft a story. Probably to a child we can say that persevere. Maybe we want to teach perseverance to a child. To a professional with the Thirsty Crow story, we could teach that the solution to the problem is right there in the vicinity, in the environment. So you just need to be more aware. So I think a lot of takeaways from today's presentation, and the slide deck itself was very attractive, Deepti, and was easy to follow. So thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
sir.
Jitendu. In fact, thank you for bringing such a thing up. I would appreciate if you could write one takeaway from the session today, which you will probably take back home. Just a takeaway would be great. Thank you for your encouraging words, everyone. But one takeaway would be a great feedback for me so that I understand what you have understood from the session. Or if you feel like unmuting, do we have time, Sagar, for a Q&A? Or have we overshot the time?
Sorry, ma'am, could you please come again?
Asking if we have time for Q&A or have
Ma'am,
we overshot that time?
yeah, I think we have passed the time limit.
All right. So then using the chat to share your takeaways would be great. Thank you. And you can, of course, reach out to me in case you have any questions that linger on afterwards. All right. Thank you. And with that, back to Toastmaster Saurav.
Thank you, Deepti. It was really such an insightful session on data, how to use different tools to actually visualize our data, and the effective usage of colors also, which altogether pulls in bringing the data to an absolute best form. With that, I would like to introduce the first prepared speaker that we have. He's Colonel Prem. He has a diverse background, including army service, education, and expertise in soft skills. So, before I request him and introduce his topic, I would like to welcome Toastmaster Nidhi to share the guidelines for the speaker, and then we can proceed further.
Toastmaster Saurabh, I'm checking that Nidhi has apparently dropped out. So
No, I'm here only. Hi, everybody. It's some glitch in my system.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I couldn't
Yes,
find.
I joined from two devices.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, sorry for the inconvenience caused by me. So I am evaluator of Prem's speech, and speech objective is to enable audience to become familiar as how to enable audience to become familiar as to how adventure impacted his life journey, to sensitize audience about his academic pursuit during his professional journey, to express his passion to delve into field of learning and development, and to share a glimpse of his personal life. So I would like to all the best. It is his eye-breaking speech. So let's wish him all the best.
Thank you, Nidhi. So, Colonel Prem, your topic for the speech is Journey of Soldier Scholar. Toastmaster Prem, Journey of Soldier Scholar.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good morning. Aristotle spoke of ethos, pathos, and logos when he wanted to influence audiences. And I hope by the end of my talk of about 5 to 7 minutes, the audiences here, our dear Toastmasters, would have many takeaways and would have a glimpse on my professional, personal, and little social life. It was complete silence. I found myself all alone there just a while ago. I could hear men talking around, but immediately it was all quiet. I called out, my buddy. After a while, I heard some sound from the area where I was in. I could hear very feeble noise coming from, I think, some depths. So I was there on Siachen Glacier at late night, and suddenly I found that few men who were supposed to be moving up and down roads were not there. And on further investigation, I found that they were all deep down in the crevasse. So when I looked around, I found my own buddy, and then we decided to go ahead and make an attempt to rescue people who had fallen down into the crevasse. We were being overlooked by our enemy, the Paki troops, and so we had to be careful, as also we had very little time to rescue all those people who had fallen down into the crevasse. So that was over 30 years ago, and that was adventure which had made so much of impression on my life. It was because when I started my schooling in RIMC, it was adventure which was supposed to shape my professional life. And so right as a cadet in RIMC Dehradun, I was influenced by nature and adventurous activities. I went to NDA. From there, did some mountain adventure programs and courses. Then went to IMA and was part of the first expedition, the Golden Jubilee expedition, and summited Mount Kamet and Trishul, and possibly was one of the youngest officers to be awarded Sena Medal in 1982. Subsequently, I also had many tenures in Siachen Glacier, where I also commanded my battalion, and later went on to become Director of Army Adventure Wing. And when I was Director Army Adventure Wing, we planned and shaped the programs, the adventure program of the entire armed forces. over next 20 years. The pursuit of adventure continued to Andamans, into the islands. Then, of course, my own solo bike rides. And today, I'm doing some cycling solo. And even this morning, I was out for a cycle ride. Alvin Toffler, many years ago, had spoken that illiterate of 21st century will not be ones who can't read or write, but will be the ones who don't learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so when I joined RMC as commandant, I was just a plain graduate, and our teachers were masters, in subjects. So I decided to do my B.Ed, as also masters in English. And thereafter, about 15 years ago, I decided to do MBA Finance during my study leave. I had that passion for teaching, which started during my tenure as instructor in Indian Military Academy. And of course, after retirement, this interest of education continued when I was heading the school there. And subsequently, now I'm director at this school CS came. And so that education and quest for sort of degrees and qualification and education continues today. So adventure and academic go side by side for me. When I talk of learning and development, learning and training was part of me throughout, even during the army. I had tremendous experience sort of during the that time when I was CO. The training of men was so important. And even in school, I was sort of training teachers, and we found that the impact of this on-the-job training was very, very useful. And that training continues, and even today. So I myself upskill. I did my soft skills training and image consultancy, and continue to sort of upgrade myself. I hope I'm okay for time. I'm not able to see. Somebody tell me how much time is past.
So it's been 6.5 minutes, so completed.
And yeah, so on personal front, I have a banker son who's presently in Allahabad, and daughter who is in actor, presently in Bombay. And of course, my soulmate has moved on to her eternal home, to the Parampita 4 years ago. And I like this philosophy of Stoicism, and which helps in managing all our resources. And to end, I have this quote. So one of the biggest benefits I have experienced from Stoicism is that philosophy makes you more resourceful. In life, it's not about what we have. It's about what we do with things that we have. With this, I end my talk. Thank you, everybody, for patiently listening. Yeah, over to you. Thank you.
Hello.
You're audible, sorry.
Sorry, there was a disconnection at my end. Sorry. Thank you, Prem sir, for sharing the journey. And it is truly inspiring for each of us to hear you and learn from the tremendous background that you hold. By now, we'll now begin with the toast table topic. For that, I would like to introduce the table topic master for the day, who is our team, who is Mr. Mohit from our Toastmaster community. I'll run through his